Welcome to all my travelers out there. I am your host, Darren Beckett, and this is the Global Travel Podcast. For those who do not know my travel resume, I've been to 13 states, 15 countries on 5 different continents, but it is not about me. Here, we are giving you quality travel tips, insights, and recommendations on all the best destinations for ideas to enjoy your vacations. With that being said, sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. We are all clear for takeoff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, before we reach our destination, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, click the bell, and if you can do me a huge favor, if you can write a comment in the comment section below, type in the words, "I got my ticket," and at the end of the show, I'm going to come by, I'm going to respond and see how your experience went with us, all right? So with that being said, on today's episode, we are taking a trip to Mexico. So make sure you got your passports, your earphones, and something to snack on. We have a very special guest here with us today. But before I introduce her, let me just say this. Now, this young lady is well-rounded. She's lived in 7 different states, visited almost all 50 states, and has traveled to 30 different countries. So if Mexico is a place that you want to go to, you definitely want to pay attention and listen up. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Mrs. Jade Cold.
Go.
What's going on, Miss Cold, Miss Gold, Miss Gold? What's happening?
What's happening in this COVID holiday-ish day, right?
That part. I'm still trying to travel. I know me personally, I haven't been traveling during the COVID, to be quite honest with you. I know you have. We're gonna definitely touch on that. But Mexico out here is a place that a lot of folks are traveling to. So today is going to be some good
Absolutely.
information. That's going to be good. And then let's go ahead and just jump in. If you can just tell our listeners, our viewers, a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do for a living, travels, hobbies, X, Y, and Z.
Oh my goodness. Jade Gold, everyone, and I currently reside in Knoxville, Tennessee. My full-time job, I guess you could say, is I'm a TV producer. I work in true crime television. So things like you see on TV1 and the We Channel, For My Man, Snap, Killer Colors, Mayhem, and Murder. Travel for me has been part of my life since before I can even probably remember walking. I was definitely on a plane. It's something that my family and my parents always did. And it was something that stayed with me, throughout my adult life. As far as hobbies, for me, traveling really is part of that hobby. I do photography, modeling, and actually a little bodybuilding on the side.
Oh, well-rounded. That is what's up. And she speaks another language, so she speaks Spanish as well. So, uh, but you know what? Let's talk about some of the states before we jump into Mexico.
Sure.
Where do you want to take us first? You the pilot, I'm co-pilot. You take us on the trip. Where we going first?
I think that when it comes to the 50 states, a lot of people tend to go to the favorites. They go to
Mm.
California, they go to Vegas, they go to New York, and all of those places are amazing. But I think that when I started to realize that I had been out of the country more than I had been stateside, it caused me to explore all the amazing places you can go just right here in the States. I happen to live in one of them now, which is Knoxville, Tennessee. Um, People are not that familiar with what makes Knoxville so amazing, but it's home of the Smoky Mountains. It has some of the highest points in the world that you can see as far as mountains are concerned. But there are smaller areas, maybe about 45 minutes away, called Pigeon Forge and Gatlinburg. A true hidden gem within a smaller community, huge for
Mhm.
tourism, home
Mhm.
of a park that little know about unless you live in Knoxville, called Dollywood, which is
Mhm.
almost as big as Disneyland. And so you
Oh.
have those that like the outdoors, hiking, mountain biking, that whole thing. It's great for that.
Mm.
Another place that I really love that I've lived is Spokane, Washington, which is
Mhm.
the other side of the map, completely different than Washington, D.C., which at the time I was ignorant. I didn't know.
Mhm.
But again, just an amazing, beautiful place, home of my university, which is Gonzaga University.
Mhm.
And so you have just a plethora of places stateside that we could go into. that people don't normally visit unless they've got family or someone there, that people really could find great family trips, if you're not willing to get on the international tip. Those are two that I would highly recommend.
So far as let's go back to Knoxville a little bit. What do you recommend to eat? What's Knoxville known for? I hear barbecue. I know Memphis has good barbecue. I don't know if it's the same throughout the the state, but what's out there to eat?
Knoxville is a real foodie town. A lot of places you go have the big franchises, Cheesecake Factory, PF Chang's, things like that. But in Knoxville, what's really unique is that there are a lot of what I call mom and pop establishments. So everything from Ethiopian to Korean, good, of course, down home. They call it hot chicken out there. And so there are so many places. One of my favorite is a place called Kaizen's in Knoxville, and another place called
Mm-hmm.
Kefi. And what I like about Knoxville's foodie scene is that people come from other areas, so they bring their flair, to Knoxville.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Kefi's, for instance, the owner, I want to say he's from Miami. He's from Miami. So he brought this
Mm-hmm.
Miami flair, this unique cuisine of Mediterranean, and I just love it. So I've actually made it a point not to revisit unless I have tried 7 other restaurants. That's my rule. 7 other restaurants before I can go back to the one that I love.
Hey, that's not a bad rule right there. I like that, as a matter of
It's too
fact.
many to
Uh,
try.
it's too many, way too many. Now, far as the weather, what's it like? What can people expect? What are like the better times of the year to go to Knoxville?
Knoxville is true 4 seasons, so you're going to see the leaves change, right towards the end of October. It is definitely going to remain sweatshirt weather, I would say, all the way through the end of November. Once you get into December on up through April, you're going to definitely be cooler temperatures. It is not typically a snow region. So, you're talking
Mhm.
about could be low 30s at night, high 50s during the day. But then once you get into the spring, which is absolutely my favorite, Knoxville is known for the dogwood tree. They have these long
Mm.
trails throughout the city that are specifically marked that will take you through these beautiful blooming dogwood trees. And so that's
Mhm.
something that they know. They have the dogwood parades. And so once you get into April, I'd even say late March through May is a beautiful time to come. The summers are very mild, and it's not
Mhm.
real humid. So it's actually a really great 4 seasons in the Knoxville area. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. I'm gonna definitely have to go back and because I like the outdoors. I try to do the outdoor things as well. So Knoxville in Tennessee in general is probably like a great place to do your outdoor activities and whatnot.
It is
So let's go ahead and fly over to Washington. You said something about what's going on. Was you in Seattle, or what part of Washington were you in?
Spokane, Washington. Yeah.
Spokane.
So
That's right. Okay,
completely
Spokane.
opposite side.
And then what's going on? Okay, okay, okay. And what's the because I know a lot of folks go to Seattle, Washington. I know I've been to Seattle. It was quite it was a while ago. But tell us a little bit about Spokane. What can we do out there? What's out there for us?
Now Spokane is one of those places if you just want to get away and chill a little bit. It's real
Mhm.
scenic, so it's
Mhm.
more about how you can maneuver, drive through the area. You're right on the border of Canada. It's not one of those places that I would
Mhm.
recommend unless you were trying to just kind of get away and chill. It's not that there's a lot to do there, but it's a beautiful region and it borders
Mhm.
not too far of a drive from Canada. So it's just one of those areas that a lot of people wouldn't have any specific reason to go to other than the university if you want to go to a Zag basketball game. But it's a beautiful region. Again, the waterways are really pretty out there. Also known for the outdoors,
Mhm.
off the beaten path sports like lacrosse and things like that. But it was just had I not gone to school out there, I would have never gone. But it's one of those places that I would recommend that people
Mhm.
get out and explore just because it's something different.
Right, right. That's cool. So it really on my list, to be quite honest with you. But if you guys are into like scenic areas and scenic places, Spokane, Washington is somewhere to go. Then plus it's not too far from the Canada border,
Canada
Canadian
border.
border. So I mean you can do like a little quick little trip to Canada real quick, if you're into that. If you just want to just get away, have some R&R, it sounds like the place to be. So Spokane, Washington. What about food? Anything? Are they known for anything or have good food? Any type of food out there?
Now, believe it or not, the crazy thing is, it would be the last place on earth that I would think great Thai food and great Ethiopian food, but they actually had both. So who knows? I mean,
Oh.
it's just, it's one of those places that you're just like, I would have never, and it winds up being, you know, a cool place. But you made a really good point about, I think that when people travel, whether it's stateside or internationally, they always choose a destination and they go to the destination. But I always recommend plan your trip to make through destinations instead of to a destination. And what I mean by that is
Mm.
take
Yeah.
enough time that you can explore neighboring cities or neighboring countries, especially if you're talking about going to Asia. And I know we'll get into that later, but if you're going to travel so far to see one thing, why not take a few extra days
Mhm.
so you can, like you say, jump the border and go over to Canada or, you know,
Mhm.
Nevada or wherever it is that you're going, instead of just that one destination, make the time to just pop in and see a couple of other places.
Love it, love it, love it. Yeah, great point. Yeah, you definitely want to get as much bang for your buck as you can. So that's definitely important. And then, of course, the food. You said Thai food, and what was the other one?
Thai food and Ethiopian of all things in Spokane, Washington.
So Thai food and Ethiopian food, good food in Spokane, Washington. Definitely try it out when you get there. All right, cool. So Washington was cool. Tennessee was good. What state you taking to us? Taking us next?
Oh man. Well, let's see. I'll talk about the ones that I've lived in. So I have lived in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
Tallahassee, which is not the Miami or
Mm-hmm.
the whatever else. Known home of
Okay.
FAMU. It's a college town. Um,
Yep.
I can't say that was a favorite on my list, so I'm gonna pass over that one. Lived in Atlanta.
we going on.
I'm just like,
ATL. Yeah, yeah,
yep, lived in
yeah.
ATL, lived in Chicago. Houston is home. I could go on talking about
hmm
Houston for days. And let me see, where else now? California, I lived in Los Angeles for at least 4 years. I've lived in Las Vegas.
Okay. Ooh,
So
see,
I know.
let's take a stop and let's go to take a flight to Houston real quick. What's going on in Houston? You say you can talk about it for days. So what you
Oh
got for us?
man, H Town in the house, West Side. But you know, Houston is a melting pot. I mean, it is
Okay.
one of those places where if you're still driving 2 hours, you are still in Houston. It is
You
surrounded by the Gulf. You know, you are less than
mhm.
45 minutes away from the Gulf of Mexico. You've got Galveston. Um, and it's one of those places, if you've never been, don't think of horses, cowboys, and saddles. You know, it will give you the
Right.
southern feel, but it is a melting pot. You know, whether it's
hmm
Italian or Asian community, huge Hispanic community, and so there's a
hmm
Tex-Mex culture in Houston, to the foodie scene that is
hmm
real big.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the city itself, you've got,
hmm
you know, the Holocaust Museum. There's a huge Jewish community in the area. There's a large African American community, and so you've got the various, home of the Buffalo Soldiers Museum. The shopping is phenomenal, of course, at the Galleria.
Yeah.
Several places like River Oaks. Um, it's just one of those cities where I think no matter where I live in the world, I could always call Houston home, and I would always go back because if it's nightlife you're seeking, it's there. If you're a foodie, it's there. Um, I even like Houston when it comes to traveling to Mexico because you're talking about less than an hour and a half flight away. So it's a very
Oh.
central place, and it's still one of those bustling cities, top four in the country as far as size, but yet it has something for everyone.
Wow. Yeah, yeah. I've been to Houston before, and I'm gonna tell. I was with my frat brothers, man. I'm gonna tell you the mistake that I had that we did is going in August. Now, I'm not gonna say that you shouldn't go in August, but if you don't like the heat, and if you don't like the humidity, I'm from Cali, so we don't really have humidity. And I'm gonna tell you right now, hey, that AC, but the AC out there, woo,
It's
that
on another
AC
level,
is on
right?
full blast. And it gotta be, it gotta be. And like I said, in Houston in the August time, it was hot. It was like 100 degrees with like 100% humidity. I'm probably exaggerating, but it felt real bad. We stayed
Yeah.
inside, definitely. And then,
New
so what
Orleans
about what is
is even worse if you can imagine that.
Yeah, I've been in New Orleans, but it wasn't in August though. I went in November. So when it was it was a
Okay.
little cooler at that time. So far as when's the best time to come to go to Houston? When's that weather like?
I mean, now see, if you would have asked me that, I would have said summertime. I love the heat and I love tropics and I love the humidity. So for me,
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
nothing better than a hot summer. But I would have to say my favorite month in Houston would be October. You're just coming off that heat wave. You're
Hmm.
not quite into what we call winter weather because Houston is just hot, hot and wet. We don't really have a winter
Right,
there.
right,
So
right.
just hot, hot and wet. That's it.
Uh,
So October is the best month.
okay, okay, yeah, you heard it here. October 1st. You know, you want to go in October. Like I said, depending on your who you are and what you like and what you
Right?
into. If you like that hot, if you like the heat, then August is. I mean, not August, but just summer in general is probably the best time to go.
Yep.
So and it got nightlife, foodie. Now, let me ask you this: you've been to a lot of different states.
Mhm.
Now, this is a debate that we have going on. Who has the best barbecue? What state do you think is Texas, or what state do you think got the best barbecue? Because I know Tennessee, Memphis have good barbecue. I hear
Yeah,
Missouri have good barbecue. So, in your opinion, who do you think got the best barbecue?
I'm gonna have to stay down with the Texas crew on that. But here's why. I'll qualify it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't really think the barbecue is different. I think it's the sauce. So if you're into the
The
real
sauce.
sweet sauce, it's the Carolinas. If you're into
Mm-hmm.
that kind of zestier, tangy sauce, it's kind of more what you see in Texas. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it's the best of the best, but it's definitely the best between tenderness. We have something out in Texas called Salt Lick Barbecue, which is where they
Mm-hmm.
put barbecue meat on a big salt block and they let it, you
Mm-hmm.
know, marinate, if you will. And I'm telling you,
Mm-hmm.
Salt Lick will how you doing one of these numbers for real? So I'm going with Texas
Finger
on that.
looking good.
Finger looking
All
good.
right, all right.
Yep.
All right. So I believe it. I believe it. It did have some. I tried it. It was good. It was. Now Houston was fine. It was hot, but it got some good food. You can do a
Yep.
lot of things. You can take a quick trip to. You said Mexico or New Mexico? Was it New
Mexico.
Mexico? Mexico.
Mexico.
You can
Yep.
take a quick trip to Mexico real quick. So Houston is definitely a place to go. You might want to go in October if the heat isn't your thing. But let's go ahead and take a trip to Atlanta, ATL. Let's take a flight there. What we got going over there?
ATL.
Yeah.
Come on. Atlanta is Black Hollywood. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
it's
Mm-hmm.
it's everything black fabulous. The food is off the chain. It is home of Southern cooking. It is
Mm-hmm.
home of the day party, home of the night party. It's the only place on earth you're gonna go to a football game and a basketball game, and you better come dressed to the nine. You know what I'm saying?
Preach.
It's
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I have a story about that. I brought my daughter to Atlanta for the first time, and she was like, "Yeah, mom, I'm gonna throw on some sweats." And I'm like, "No, see, we're in Atlanta. They dress a little different when you go to the mall in Atlanta." She was like, "No, no, no, just sweats and comfy." We stepped in, and
Mm,
soon as we step in, it looks like a club. And she's like, "I'm gonna go back to the
mm.
hotel and change." I tried to tell you,
I'll be
so
back.
yeah, I'll be back. So I mean, I love Atlanta for so many reasons. It's my mother's home.
Hmm.
It's scenic, it's beautiful. You've got the water, you've got the mountains, you've got the city life, you've got the food. You know, if you're into the strip clubs, I'm just saying, it's got
Yeah.
something for everybody.
You know what? I've heard. I've heard. I think Atlanta is one of those places that it's beautiful. You know, if you like, chocolate. You want to see your brothers and sisters. We got a
Yeah,
lot of affluent folks out there too. So
absolutely.
Atlanta make us look good. So they doing big things. Lawyers, doctors, entrepreneurs. All of the above. So Atlanta is one of those places that is good to go for us brothers and sisters. That's for sure.
Well, they say
Um,
it's per
People who look
capita.
like
It
us.
has the most Fortune 500 companies, black owned. So, there's so many
Ooh,
different reasons from real estate to the economy.
yeah.
But it's funny. It has a dynamic that once you get outside of that Atlanta circle, the loop as they
Mhm,
call it, the
mhm,
demographics change a little bit. So
mhm,
it can be
mhm.
a little deceiving too.
Right. True. 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 So, far as is there any particular locations or spots, hole in the wall, or mom and pop spots that you recommend in ATL?
Oh my God, yes. and why did you the name? Hang on, hang on. Oh, okay. Why did you just put me on the spot? Mama's Tea
It's
Room.
all
You
right.
gotta go. You gotta go to
Okay.
Mama's Tea Room. Um,
Okay.
Wait, there's one on my mind that is gonna come back to me. Well, let's come back to the restaurants because I
Yep.
swear,
Yep.
just because you asked me, they all went out of my head. STK. STK is in
Okay.
every major city, but it's a
Mm-hmm.
little different. They turn up a little different in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
There is
Mm-hmm.
one
Mm-hmm.
Port Calvin's. There we go. That's what I was trying to think of.
Mm.
Let me tell you about Port
Mm-hmm.
Calvin. Port Calvin's, you
Oh,
better have
snap.
dinner reservations. It's not fancy. You can
Oh.
come casual, but there's only about
Mm-hmm.
maybe 12 seats in this place. It is
Mm-hmm.
Thai fusion and soul food. Now try to
Ooh.
think of how that mixes together. It's probably a hard sell in your mind, but the food is amazing. Yeah.
I'm not against it. I'm not. I'm one of those. I would try different things.
Port
So that I'm.
Calvin.
I'm a food. As you can tell, I asked about food, so you can see I'm a foodie, definitely a
Yep.
foodie. So we're gonna have to talk about the food on every place that we talk about. But let's take a quick trip to we're gonna head out of the United States and just
All right. Let's. Yep.
one more state. What last state you want to talk about before we head out
Oh
international?
man. Um, I would say uh, I'm gonna have to say Nevada. I have to go
Let's
to
go.
Nevada. Um,
Let's go.
and the reason why I love Vegas so much, Vegas, everybody knows, what stays in, whatever you do in Vegas stays in Vegas and all of that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
say, get to Vegas and get out. Meaning, you've got the
Mm,
Grand Canyon. You're a Southwest flight away from so many parts of California. I guess I should
mm-hmm.
probably say California. There
Mm-hmm.
is so much more to do in the Vegas area that is not just on the strip. It's like go do your
Right.
thing, go do that. But there's so much more that you can see right in that immediate area. So Vegas is
Yeah.
going to always be a favorite of mine. You can do it relatively inexpensive. And again, one of those pass through trips, go enjoy Vegas for the weekend, tack on a few more days,
Mm-hmm.
and hop on around to the various parts of California.
Cool, cool. Yep, yep. If y'all want to go to y'all already know the strip. Y'all already know what's going on there. If you want to go somewhere close, they have some neighboring cities and places you can go and hit up. And then let's see. So I think we're done with the United States. Let's go ahead and start heading internationally. So before we get to Mexico, we're gonna circle back around there. What country would you like to take us to before we get to Mexico?
you know, One of my favorite destinations, and I would have to say, out of all the places that I've been, I could talk about Asia for days, but Thailand and Bali, those are two of
Mm.
my favorites.
Hmm.
It seemed like for African Americans at one point in time that wasn't popular, and then all of
Hmm.
a sudden, a lot of the travel influencers posted more about it, got great pictures going on the gram, and now it's one of those destinations people are really, really getting to. And there's a lot of great reasons for that. Outside of the food and the culture,
Hmm.
it's one of those hubs. For instance, if you fly into Thailand, BKK, for $25 you can be in Cambodia. For $75 you can hit up Vietnam. But I think a lot of people go, and I've had a lot of my friends, it's like they'll go to Bali and go home. I'm like, how could you go all the way to Asia and
Hmm.
not see 10 other countries while you were there, even if it's
Hmm.
just a day trip?
Hmm.
um, Financially, you can budget yourself honestly. If you're into street food and a little bit adventurous, you could literally eat for, I'd say, less than $25 a day while you're in Bali or Thailand, if
Hmm.
you're not stuck on name brand restaurants. And my advice to any traveler is go and experience the culture, like not the resort. You can go to a resort anywhere, but if you're going to spend $700 on a ticket and you're going to fly 13 hours to 20 hours to get somewhere, be a part of the culture.
Hmm.
Say hi to people you never say hi to. It's like I always say, I've never met a person for the first time. Everyone has the potential to be a friend. And those are
Hmm.
some of my best experiences traveling international, is just not having a plan at all.
Yeah, that's great advice. All my travelers out there, all my listeners, hopefully y'all are paying attention. She's well-rounded. She knows what she's talking about. So definitely, if you go, like I said, you're traveling 13 to 20 hours and you can go to another country, for, a little bit of nothing, why not? You know what I mean? Why not? Get the most bang for your buck. Try to do as much as you possibly can. It's not like you go to Asia, all the time. So
Right.
definitely, and then try the local food. That's one of the things I always like to recommend. Try the local foods. A lot of folks, sometimes when it comes to food, they're a little hesitant because they want something that's comfortable, what they're familiar with, and what they know. So they look for a McDonald's. And to be quite
Right.
honest with you, that McDonald's don't taste like the McDonald's in America anyway. But like you might try the local food, try the local cuisine, be in the culture, immerse yourself. That's the best way to do it. And then you said something else about not really being so strict on plans and whatnot. Be
Right.
flexible. Don't have a route. So talk a little bit about that as far as traveling, because I know traveling, when you start having plans and stuff, things happen. Things happen, and so why is it important to be flexible when you travel?
You know, don't get me wrong. I am an avid planner and I will have an itinerary, but my
Mm-hmm.
itinerary is set more for making sure I'm at the airport on time or if I'm making connections to other cities. But when it comes
Mm-hmm.
to the flexibility, I always say be ready to pivot because you never know who you're going to meet. When you have the opportunity to talk with locals, they are going to always tell you something that's not on Google. When you Instagram or Google, what's the most popular place? I would almost tell people that's the last place you want to go because there's always
Mm-hmm.
going to be lines of people. It's never going to look like the amazing picture you saw on Instagram. So find
Mm-hmm.
out, even if you're just talking to somebody at the front desk, find out what makes the area so amazing. Maybe it's a waterfall, maybe it's a hidden gem for a picnic,
Mm-hmm.
maybe it's a hidden restaurant with mom and pop type, food on the beach. And so again, if you set your entire itinerary for water skiing and jet skiing and all of that, and don't get me wrong, that's fabulous. But those are
Mm-hmm.
things you can do almost anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
find things that are indigenous to the area that are once in a lifetime experiences that you can only do there. And that way, your time is spent in a place that feels much more cultural specific
Right.
versus I can do this anywhere I go.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Well
So
said.
yeah.
Well said. I like that. So since we're real close to Thailand, let's go ahead and hop into Bali real quick. So what's Bali like? Because I know I personally want to go to Bali. It's on my bucket list. So what are some of the things you recommend us to do while we in Bali?
Look, let me tell you, the first thing you're going to need to bring is your own mosquito repellent. Oh my God. If you go during their rainy season, which believe it or not is our holiday season, so November, December, January,
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking next level Texas size mosquitoes. Um, that was the one disappointing thing to me that I can't believe everyone doesn't mention. And I guess it kind of depends on when you go, but
Right.
Bali is the jungle,
Mm-hmm.
period. Don't get it
Mm-hmm.
twisted. You are in the jungle. Now, here's a little known fact about Bali that a lot of people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Bali, in and of itself, is an island, but it has almost, I think they said 420 small islands, 190 of them you can visit. And so, yes, everybody goes to Bali, but there are so many different places you can visit in that region. It is a lot of driving.
Mm-hmm.
They don't use Uber and they don't use Lyft. They have their own driving system
Mm-hmm.
and you have and this is why it's important for people to do research before they travel
Mm-hmm.
due to religious cultures and territories within Bali. There are certain places that drivers can't go. So if your hotel happens to be in one of those regions or your Airbnb, you won't be getting a ride anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
it's real important for people to look at not only the great places to take pictures,
Mm-hmm.
but researching your photographers or researching your Airbnbs because they could be in the jungle mountain that's 3 hours away from any mainstream food.
Right.
Um, the food is incredible.
Mm-hmm.
You can eat street food there, you're good. There are immunizations that you're supposed to get, like Hep A and Hep C.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of travelers don't, but you should.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a majestic, kind, friendly country. I've heard some people say, that they weren't friendly to Black people. Um, I can't even imagine that because their culture is indicative of all of the elements. They worship sun, moon, earth, wind, fire, wood, metal.
Mm-hmm.
And so they understand that tourism for them is built almost on the hearts of kindness. So it is just one of those places I could live, and I
Mm-hmm.
highly recommend that you visit.
It's on my bucket list. Let me tell you, it probably just moved up a couple slots. So that's cool. If y'all want to go to Bali, make sure y'all remember to bring your bug or your insect and mosquito repellent. It is in the jungle. So, do your research, make sure the places you staying at, you find transportation and whatnot. So definitely hit Bali up. It's beautiful. You've seen the pictures on the gram, you've seen the pictures on Google and whatnot. So I definitely recommend it, even though I haven't been there, but just from Jade's word, I can just say, yeah, go ahead, go. And then not only that, man, we hit Thailand, we hit Bali. Where you taking us next? Where we going next? What country we got?
Oh man, if you don't want to jump to Mexico yet, then I'm gonna have to go to Florence because I live there.
Okay, yeah, tell us about Florence then.
Florence is home of, if you are a fashion guru mixed with your travel, you
Yeah,
have got to go to Florence.
yeah.
Um, Again, it's one of those places, if you go to Florence, you're a train ride away from Paris.
Mhm,
Even some place as far as Africa is only 5 hours when you're in Italy.
mhm,
So that's why I say you've got to plan a through trip. You're
mhm,
just too far to not explore it. It is home of the most amazing Italian food you'd ever want to eat. There's
mhm.
so much history. It's a very rich place in history. But if you've never heard of the Pitti Umo fashion extravaganza, it happens every January and every June. Look it up. Like I said, it's one of those things if you've ever been to a New York fashion show, make it times 20 because this is next
Ooh.
level. Next
Phew.
level. This is all of the greatest Italian suit designers. People really come and they show up and they show out, and it's just one
Mhm.
of those places that I would tell you, you want to book an Airbnb when you go here. Stay with somebody
Okay.
local. They will be a
Right.
wealth of information to visit the
Mhm,
Duomo. Um, in so many places, it is a walking city. You don't really have
okay.
to have a car, get a
Right.
bike, bring your walking shoes, be comfortable.
Mhm, mhm.
This is a suit and tennis shoe kind of place, and there is never a bad time to go. The winter is beautiful, the spring is the most amazing time to be there, and the summer is very comfortable.
Beautiful. Yeah. When I was in Italy, I only touched Rome, so I seen you when you go to Italy, man. I don't know how long you need to stay, but you have to stay for a while to
Here,
really touch Italy. Italy is it's a lot. It's very rich in Italy. You got Rome, Florence, Venice, Nepal.
yes,
Nepal is where pizza was originated. I learned that when I was in Italy, in Rome. So, if you're a fashionista, a fashion guru, you definitely want to hit up Florence. That sounds like something I would like to do one of these days. I'm gonna have to go back to Italy myself. So
yeah.
that'll be cool. Now, far as, of course, I don't know. Do you like wine or do
I
you
am a
recommend?
wine connoisseur. I collect. Um, and again, and I'm a Napa Valley snob, but there's nothing like the wineries and the vintage vineyards that you can go to in Florence, and they're so cheap.
Mm,
So you're right. You could spend, I mean, just in one region, whether it's Rome, Florence, you could spend days and weeks and still not cover all of it. So Europe in general, I think, is one of those places that no matter how many times you've been, you can find the next level, something new, something that's off the beaten path there. And so, even though I lived there for almost 4 months, I could go back and still think of umpteen number of places I didn't cover.
I'm sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Italy is just one of those places you might have to live there for a little bit to really get the
Yeah.
full taste of it. So, okay, anything we about to head to Mexico. Let's what about far as any places that you visited around Florence or any other cities that you touched at all in while you was in Italy or even
Well,
other countries?
when I was living there, I went to Morocco, Rome, Venice, Paris, London, Germany,
Mhm.
Switzerland. again, these are all easy touch points
Right.
from that area. And so even if I just went and spent a day or two, those are all places that I went while I was living out there,
Right.
because I was
Yeah.
there for my degree program.
Okay, okay, that's cool. And then what type of traveler are you? Are you a solo traveler? You go with a friend, your groups, or how do you travel?
I am a non-group traveler, and I have a I have a real specific reason for that. But no, I mean, to be honest, I would love to travel with people, but it just always seemed like the longer I waited on 6 or 7 people to get their stuff together, be it their finances or their time, I just wasn't willing to. And I get it. A lot of people can't take 2 and 3 weeks to travel. I'm
Yeah.
very blessed and fortunate to be able to do that. So a lot of my trips have been solo. I'm not saying I've never been with a group and I've never been with a partner, but I'd say 90% have been solo.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I understand. I'm same way. I'm solo travel too, cause when you start having groups and other people, and they like first it start. This is how it normally starts out. Y'all, let's go to Timbuktu, or let's go to Greece, or wherever you're trying to go. Oh,
Right.
cool, great idea. Let's do it. I'm ready to what dates? Da-da-da-da-da-da. All right,
Mhm.
now then it start changing. So the deposit due today. Oh, see what had happened was I
See,
wasn't able. You get all kind of excuses.
okay.
So I'm like, all right, cool. I'm still going. Y'all just see
Right.
me on the gram, live vicariously through me, and that's cool too. So yeah, it's
And I
good
don't
that
have
you.
time to be splitting bills, trying to figure out who ate more and who drank more. And I just my very first experience traveling solo was at 17, because a
Mm-hmm.
big group of us had booked a spring break trip.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, when it came time for those deposits, see what
Mm-hmm.
had happened is my
Mm-hmm.
job didn't. Nobody
Mm-hmm.
got time for that. And so I
No.
think from that point forward, I just realized I didn't mind traveling by myself.
Good. You didn't let them stop you because a lot of folks, especially okay. Well, let's speak on that. Being a female solo traveler. See, it's different for. I mean, solo travel just still got to be careful and do all your stuff or whatever. Do things
Right.
right. But far as a woman from coming from a woman's perspective and traveling solo, what tips and advice can you give to our other women travel that folks that want to travel solo women we talking about, or they whatever, just give us any type of information, keep them safe, get them any type of advice that you can.
That's interesting because it's almost the number one question I get. How do you feel so comfortable traveling to so many places so far away? You've never been and you're by yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
will admit I am probably more trusting than most,
Mm-hmm.
but part of my trust comes by experience. That research factor is huge. If you're a single female solo traveler, you need to know where you are. You should always, I don't care where you go or how old you are, people should know where you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, be it an emergency contact, just a touch point. Hey, I moved cities, I'm here. Um, One of the first recommendations that I always tell people, and it sounds silly because you wouldn't do it here in the States,
Mm-hmm.
is leaving your contact information with somebody at the front desk.
Good.
Um, if
Yeah.
you go out, for instance, and you're exploring throughout the day, let
Mhm.
them know, if I'm not back by a certain time, contact this person. You don't even think about small things like that. But when you're by yourself, it's important to have touch points.
Mhm.
Should you get out, explore the bars, explore the clubs? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sit down, have conversations with people. But at the same time, there's so many things that you can do publicly and feel completely safe with. If you want to get into group tours, that's a great way to get out and you're with other people. But if you are going to be traveling via Uber or their specific transportation within the city, just touch base with people, put what's up on your phone, WhatsApp,
Mhm.
and it's a great free communication. And at the same time, it gives people touch points, on your cell phone where you
Mhm.
are. Um,
Mhm.
so that's the main thing. I wouldn't tell any female traveler to exclude any part of their travels doing
Mhm.
anything, not where they stay, not where they eat, not where they go, or the things that they experience. Just simply put in some extra safety measures when you're doing it. And part of
Mhm.
that will come in the research that you do before you get there. And also, don't believe all the rumors that people tend to put out there, because
Yeah.
truthfully, it's usually the most inexperienced people that talk about crime in Mexico and crime in Asia, and they've never been there. So just,
Yeah,
take it with
yeah.
a grain of salt, and do the things you need to do to make sure that you cover your safety truthfully. And you should do that here in the States sometimes too.
Yeah, well said. Well said too. So for all my single or solo women travelers out there, make sure you be safe. Leave your number with the front desk clerk. Let them know, hey, if I ain't back at this time, call this number. Let folks at home, back at home, know where you are. If you changing cities and you on the move, let them keep them updated. I mean, I know you grown. I know you grown, but it ain't about being grown. It's about your safety at the end of the day. So that's important. That's very important. So that was great information. And since now it looks like we have finally arrived in Mexico. So welcome, 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 or should I say bienvenidos a Mexico.
Bienvenidos.
So tell us, so we off the plane, man. We stretching our legs. That was a long flight. We here now. So what's the first thing we should do while we in Mexico?
Well, the first thing you have to realize is that Mexico is a big country,
Yeah.
and it's more than Cabo. It's more than Tulum. But we'll start there because it just seemed like that just blew up on Instagram this year, and I think there was a real
Yep.
specific reason for that.
Right.
99.9% of Tulum, Cancun, and most of Mexico's economy is based on tourism. So it didn't surprise me that during COVID that they were being very welcoming and quick to open up those borders, or I should say, not even shut them down when
Mm-hmm.
it came to welcoming the US back as far as tourism was concerned. Once you had your travel influencers start posting up some of these specific locations like Casa Mialca, which turned into the Instagram photo shot of 2020. I think what it did was is it made travelers, African American in particular, feel more
Mm,
comfortable about going as well. So we can start there. I personally have been traveling to Cancun, even with my kids, for more than 15 years.
mhm.
So Cancun, Tulum, Acapulco, and Cabo are probably my most familiar. Um, but one of the reasons why it's a great place, Tulum is a little more underdeveloped than Cancun.
Mhm.
Cancun, in my mind, is kind of and don't get mad, older folks or younger folks, but it's kind of the college scene of Mexico. It's
Okay.
super cheap. The hotels can range from as little as, I'm not kidding, $15 a night, and then of course you can go up into the thousands. The
Mhm.
food is super cheap, but Cancun in and of itself has become so Americanized that I personally don't enjoy it as much. I
Mhm.
prefer Tulum, which tends to bring, I would say, a 35 and up demographics.
Mhm.
It is a much higher end hotel. It's not nearly as crowded and popular. It's about 2 hours outside of Cancun. And I feel like the experience you get there is a little more upscale than what you would do in Cancun.
Tulum, yeah, that's I've been
Tulum.
seeing I've been seeing Tulum and Cancun. Matter of fact, I have a trip. We were going to a Riviera Maya in January, so that's going to be pretty cool. But so I know you traveled in the COVID during COVID. What can you recommend, or what insight can you give folks like myself who haven't traveled yet, about to get on the plane? So what recommendations can you give to folks who are hesitant or about to travel?
There's three big things that have changed in travel. Number one, there's no more food on any flights,
Oh.
except they will give you a bag and it has hand sanitizer, water, and a bag of chips. Um, it is, you cannot wear the ventilated mask on a flight. So if it's got those little vents in it, you cannot wear that on a flight. I personally don't agree with that because those masks technically are safer.
Hmm.
You do have to keep your mask on. I have been grounded on two flights where they landed a flight because passengers refused to keep their mask on. They are not playing with this. So
Mm.
um, that is one of the things you could potentially run into if you get somebody who's really belligerent. But they are very serious about the mask. Right now, Delta Airlines is the only airline that is keeping their middle seat open. All the rest are booking all the way across. You need to keep your hand sanitizers on you. The main thing is not touching your face. But as it relates, the process is the same.
Mhm.
Mexico was a little bit different. I have to give them credit. The minute we stepped off the plane, they sanitized our shoes.
Mm.
They sprayed you down. At least when I went, I don't know if they're still doing it, but
Right.
I found myself to feel much safer in that arena, because the other thing is their natural nature preserves. It's
Mhm.
very important that they keep those clean. So you were even being sprayed down to go into some of the cenotes
Mhm.
or the waterfalls. All of that was being done, which I felt was an extra measure that you didn't even see here in the States.
See, yeah. So, and I've been seeing a lot of my friends, a lot of folks been traveling to Mexico. So, that seems like and it seems safe. A lot of folks been coming back and having great reviews, saying, felt safe. They had all the sanitizer stations and all these wipes. And so, that actually give folks a little more peace of mind. So that's actually pretty cool. So far as, things to do, like, what would you recommend? I believe they had like the Mayan ruins. Is that in Tulum or where's am I wrong?
No, well, ruins is in all parts of Mexico. So
Oh, okay.
you've got Chichen Itza.
Mhm,
They're all over. I would
mhm,
say probably the number one thing that people do out there is the various beaches, the cenotes, which is kind of your underground cavern water type thing,
mhm,
snorkeling, scuba diving. But believe it or not, it is a big foodie place as well. A
mhm,
lot of people think, well, we're just going to go get Mexican food,
mhm.
but huge Italian seafood restaurants, beach restaurants, and I think it all comes down to budget. You've got your low end, what I call street food. You've kind of got the mid thing you can eat every day, and then you've got some really beautiful high end restaurants, places like Casa Mayalca and several others. I can give you some names. So it really depends on what kind of experience you want to have and what your budget is.
Yeah, that makes sense. And as far as what type of vacation is Mexico? Is it for the solo travelers, is it group travelers, honeymooners? What demographics? Who should go to Mexico and what places and why?
I'm going to say all of the above. It is
Mhm,
for the solo traveler. I went alone this summer.
mhm.
It is for the honeymoon, because there are certainly some beautiful, very private locations. And it's darn sure for the group traveler,
Yeah.
because if you're splitting it 6 ways, it goes down even further. So I am going to give you some recommendations and why I recommend them. So for um, Acapulco is definitely one of my favorites. This is somewhere
Mhm.
that I used to travel to when I was a child. Acapulco, if I had to make a comparison, is the Mexican Miami. um, it has that feel to it.
Yeah.
It's definitely more expensive. You find less all-inclusive resorts out there. It
Mhm,
definitely tends to be for the higher end traveler.
mhm,
It is still very authentic to the culture. I don't feel like it's been Americanized as much as Cancun.
mhm.
You'll have one of my favorite restaurants out there is Carlos and Charlie's. You will wait 3 hours to get in, but it's an experience you won't forget.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Nice.
So that is on my list. Mexico City is different than any other part of Mexico if you
Mhm,
are into history. They are big for the arts, the
mhm,
agriculture, the architecture, the historic museums. And so if you are kind of into that part of travel and you're looking for Mexico to be a different experience, then Mexico City is good for that part of it.
mhm,
Like,
mhm.
I wouldn't say go to Mexico City if you're in particularly looking for the crystal clear beaches and all of that. You'll have a different experience. And I would say Mexico City is like the Rome of Italy. It's the historic part
Right,
of everything in Mexico.
right.
Um, Guadalajara, this is for all my ladies that are looking for medical tourism.
Mm.
Guadalajara is your spot, ladies. That's the BBL, the Brazilian butt lifts, all of that. It is what it is.
Yeah.
I used to do medical tourism as a business, and some of the best doctors in the country are actually in Guadalajara. So
Mm.
that's a great place for medical tourism. That'd have to be a whole nother show. Um, and let me see. I would say Playa del Carmen, which
Mm-hmm.
is also maybe about 45 minutes outside of Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
Again, going to be a little bit higher end when it comes to the clientele that goes there. Not as much of the party city as Cancun.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the hotels and the Airbnbs out there. They tend to have a little bit more of a boutique hotel, and they are definitely specialties in seafood out there. Their seafood restaurants are amazing.
Wow, yeah, yeah, definitely. I want to try that as well. As a matter of fact, what's it like traveling in Mexico? Do they speak English, or is it all? Should you know Spanish? Do you need to have somebody who speaks Spanish with you, or how's that for us English speaking folks?
No, you definitely don't have to have anybody. They almost, we're the only ones that have problems speaking another language when we say we don't want to mess it up, but they will butcher the English language to communicate with
Yeah,
us.
true,
Yeah,
true.
I'll tell you what speaking Spanish will do for you. It is a
Mhm.
better bargaining tool. When they know you can speak Spanish, you can bargain on restaurants, you can bargain on retail, you can even your Uber transportation will be cheaper if they know you can speak Spanish. So if I were you, get you a Babbel course for about a month and get you enough information to learn how to navigate some better discounts.
Yeah, yeah. And speaking of, there's a couple things that you had mentioned. Negotiation.
Mhm.
When you see, I don't know too many places in America you can go in the store or negotiate a price in America. I don't know too many places. But when you go to other countries, especially Mexico, you can negotiate just because the tags say this price or the first thing that come out their mouth is you don't have to take that, man. You have about 10 other people you can go to selling, they selling the same thing. And
That's right.
guess who want that business? Whoever going, they gonna be like, you know what, I can get it cheap for you here. It costs $10 over there, but I'm gonna give it to you for 8 or 7 or 5. You can just
Right.
talk it down. So that's actually good when you speak, because there's something called you have local prices and
Yep.
tourist prices. So
That's right.
I'm assuming that tourist prices is more expensive than the local
Yes.
prices. So if you
Yes.
know the language, that helps a lot. That helps a lot. And then you also mentioned something about all inclusives. I don't know if everyone is familiar with all inclusives. All inclusives is my thing. That's my shit. I'm gonna tell you
Really?
that right now.
So
Yeah,
against them.
you are your why? Well,
Yeah.
tell us why. Que
I'm
pasa?
gonna tell
Dime.
you why. I'm gonna tell you why. Number one, when you have an all-inclusive stay, you will tend to stay on the resort. Why? Because your breakfast, lunch, and dinner is paid for there. So you're not going to go out as much because you've paid for it in your package. Now, here's the other thing, and I know everybody saw this going on. I guess was it last year, where these drinks were coagulating in people's lungs because it was like fake liquor. You know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly. I was actually. I'm glad when you brought that up. I was actually living. I was living in Punta Cana, working at a 5 diamond luxury hotel or whatever.
Okay.
And I was supposed to move there like officially, but after 3 months, I came back to get all my paperwork, and my mom was like, "You know they're making fake liquor in the DR, and tourism folks is
They
dying out
are,
there."
yeah,
I
yeah.
said, "No," and I'm over here drinking. I'm over here drinking too. So
We're gonna
I'm
cocktail.
like, "Yeah, yeah." So I'm like, you know what? I mean, I guess the easy solution was just not to drink, but I just ended up staying here. But yeah, what's going on with that?
Well, it's a common practice, not the thing that's killing you, but it's a
Hmm.
common practice for all-inclusive hotels to water down either brand liquor by putting, um, what do they call it? Not shelf. I'm not a big drinker. What is it called when it's not top shelf? It's
Bottom
house.
shelf, a house.
Bottom shelf,
Okay,
yeah, whatever. Uh,
yeah.
they would put it in the brand bottles, but it wouldn't be the same thing. Or
Mm,
they would like literally water the liquor down, or it would be like moonshine where they kind of manufacture it on their own.
hmm,
So unless you're staying at a true upscale like a Ritz Carlton or some of these higher end hotels,
hmm,
you really weren't quite getting what you thought you were paying for. The food will be repetitious. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some really nice all inclusive resorts, but me
hmm.
personally, I want to get out, I want to do street food, I want to be with the local culture. So, and you're paying almost double for your hotel room. So, you would do better, in my opinion,
Hmm.
booking something like an Airbnb
Hmm.
and getting into an arena where you're close to local restaurants. You will be able to put a lot more money into your trip versus your hotel room. And I am hotel bougie, so don't get me wrong.
But that makes sense though. And I'm glad that you mentioned that because I'm one of those travelers. I don't have like a specific type of travel style that I do. I can go anywhere from hostels and
Yep.
Airbnbs
Yep.
to five diamond hotels and everything in between. So I have a wide range of travel styles. All inclusive happen to be one of them. Cruises have to be another. And then what you Airbnbs get into the local. I think that was great that you said that. Getting
Yes.
in the actual culture and really
Yeah.
immersing yourself. That I think that's my most rewarding, enriching experience. My all inclusives is more so
You
my
know what? I
pamper,
get
just
it.
chilling. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So depending on your travel style, you
Yeah.
can, some folks like that all inclusive, some folks like to do the Airbnb and be with the locals. It just depends on your travel style, and there's no wrong way or no right way, just whatever teach his own. So
Absolutely.
I'm
My
glad that
last Airbnb host, to be honest, young guy, moved to Tulum, opened up 5 properties. And I kid you not, he turned out being the best tour guide ever. Jumped on the moped, took me on a tour around the city multiple times, took me to restaurants I would have never found without him. So, not every Airbnb host is going to be that gracious or
Right.
that fun to be with, but
Right.
a lot of times, especially in Mexico, you will find a lot of Europeans and Americans have moved there specifically to create great properties. And you'll
Mhm.
find that they are some of your best resources for finding the hidden gems in any given city.
True, true, very, very true. Now, I know you say you're not much of a like a drinker now, but do Mexico have like a national beer or national liquor or wine that folks should try out when they there?
Oh, well, what is it? Cerveza,
Cerveza?
that, right. I'm not even a beer drinker. But the biggest thing, of course, if you're new to traveling to Mexico, you always hear people say, do not drink the local water. I cannot stress that enough. But
Mm.
what a lot of people don't think about is the ice. You cannot go for ice in your drinks. You should always get bottled water, canned, whatever, or you could spend the rest of your trip in the bathroom or the pharmacy. So,
Mm.
um, you have to, they are not offended when you ask them, do you have purified water? Matter of fact, you have to ask, because if the answer is no, what you order, things like salads, anything that is washed in water, fruit, etc., are all things that you need to ask about when you are in that country. Now,
Mm.
some people will say, well, does that mean I can't eat street food? Here's the
Mm.
thing, depending on what it is, things that are cooked above a certain temperature, no matter what country you're in, tend to be safe. So as
Mhm.
long as it is cooked and you're not on, let's say, the street eating ceviche with raw shrimp or raw fish, you
Right.
should be good to go
Right.
with anything that's cooked.
Okay. So, is there anything in particular that you dislike about Mexico?
I would say the panhandling. It's a little strong at times.
Mm.
Um, and they tend to, just like anywhere else, they tend to move on. But you definitely don't necessarily want to walk around with your big Louis bag on or
Mhm.
anything that says, I have money, because really you just make yourself a target.
Right.
And it's usually the kids. I hate to say it, but they push the kids to create the crimes while somebody's talking to you or entertaining you. They're doing the whole pickpocket thing. So it is just one of those areas. Leave your fancy jewelry at home. It's not that you have to worry about crime, it's just don't make yourself a target.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Yeah. You will attract tension, and not all attention is good attention.
No,
So you definitely want to not be so loud. Turn it down a few notches.
turn it down.
Immerse yourself with the culture. Wear some regular clothes. I know this ain't Florence. So
Right.
so know where you at. Know your surroundings.
Oh,
I
yes, yeah.
understand that's very key and very important. And then let me see. Now, far as is there any shopping to do out there in Mexico? Because I know some folks like to, go places and go shopping. Some countries are known for jewelry, and depending on where you are, is Mexico known for anything like that, far as shopping?
Honestly, it's one of those places where the markup is so high. If you're talking about some of the mainstream malls, maybe somebody would disagree with me on this. Cabo has what I call the Galleria kind of mall, but unless they tend to put the designer stores, the Gucci's, the Louis, the this, that, and the other. So I mean, again, unless you're looking for something that you just cannot get in your area, I would recommend the markets, the outdoor markets. If you're looking for more cultural or things that are authentic, I personally don't have a recommendation for shopping outside of the marketplaces within the area.
Okay, okay. And then far as, is there anything, I'm assuming you went, you've been a couple times. I'm sure there's more places you want to go. Is there any other places or any other things that you would do differently if back in Mexico?
Um, Not Mexico. There's definitely things I would do different if we were back on the European conversation that
Mm-hmm.
I kind of wish somebody would have told me about. That
Mm-hmm.
was very simple. But Mexico, again, it's so Americanized at this point. I mean, heck, even if you forgot half your luggage and needed to go to Walmart, y- y- it's right there and it's available. You know,
Right.
so
Right.
Mexico isn't one of those places that I feel like you need a whole lot of direction. I would tell people to take certain things with them,
Mm-hmm.
like certain deodorants are hard to find.
Yes.
Um, your Pepto Bismols and all of that. Again, if you're not used to the pharmacies there, they're not going to have American products. Like it's not going
Right.
to say Smith Kline Beecham and J&J.
Mm.
It's going to say something else. It'll do the same thing, but if that brings you any discomfort, then you need to bring a small pharmacy with you. But other than
Mm-hmm.
that, I don't have any major recommendations as far as travel light, you know,
Like,
travel
yeah.
light.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I know some folks need to bring their whole closet, talk about they need options. So I don't know if
That's me.
that's are you one of those? Oh
I'm
Lord.
one of those. But see,
Ah.
I always schedule photo sessions. So, for me, it's like I do need some options. I'm just saying.
Ain't nothing wrong with it if it's okay with you. Hey, you know what? It's all good. But we do have to start wrapping things up. Head back to our home airports. We'll hit some of the gift shops. But is there any last things that you want to talk about Mexico that we haven't covered yet before we head back home?
Again, use your creative mind to look at Mexico as another huge place to explore. Don't always just go to the Instagrammable places. You've got Mexico City, Puerto Vallarta. You've got one place that is highly overlooked is the Grand Canyon of Mexico and
Mm.
the Copper Canyon. Mexico City. There's just so many other places to explore.
Mhm.
And it's like anything else. Take time, even if it's a 4-day weekend, you can get in a couple of cities by not just spending your entire time on one resort in one city and
Mhm.
explore. There's so much
Mhm.
more.
Yep, yep. Love that, love that. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, to all my travelers out there, I'm sure y'all got a lot of good information about Mexico and some other states and other countries as well. Hopefully, y'all got some good souvenirs to bring back with you on the trip. So, on our flight back home, we do have one last segment, and it's called the lightning round. So, I'm going to ask you a list of questions, and you have to answer them as fast as possible. So, quick, 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 sense of urgency.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then also, you can only answer with one word answer. So no sentences, no backstories, none of that. So we just quick, quick, quick.
All
So
right.
I think I'm ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. So question number one. What is your favorite airline?
Delta.
What's your favorite hotel?
Ritz.
What's your favorite cruise line?
Norwegian.
What's your favorite state?
Texas.
What's your favorite country?
Asia.
What's your favorite hotel booking site?
Ooh. Expedia.
What's your favorite flight booking site?
Layaway ticket.
What is one thing that Jade Gold must bring on all her trips?
My camera.
Where do you want to go next?
Dubai.
Other than the states that you've already lived in, what other state would you move to?
DC.
What other country would you live in?
Thailand.
Last question. what is your favorite travel podcast?
The Global Travel Podcast, baby.
Good answer. Good answer. It's all right. It's all right though. It's our rules, my rules. So we can break the rules one time. But it's all good, man. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Jade.
Thank you for having me. It's so much fun.
Of course. And then also I will put your IG handles and social medias and all that type of stuff in the video. So folks, all my travelers, if you got more questions, if you want to follow up with her on travels in Mexico or how she travels during COVID or any other countries for that matter, definitely pick her brain. She is the person to talk to. And then not only that, ladies and gentlemen, we are approaching our home airport. So I need you back into your seats, buckle up, trays up, and seats in the upright position. All right. So before we land, I need one more piece of advice for all our members and travelers out there. What would that be?
Travel is the antidote to ignorance. Travel more, learn more, and be less judgmental.
Oh, that is a travel guru right there. Well said. So we thank you for flying and traveling with us at the Global Travel Podcast. We are now landed. You can unbuckle your seatbelts, grab your belongings, and exit the cabin. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, see you on our next trip.
See ya.
Doses. If you would like to be a guest on our show and tell us about your travel experiences, then leave us a comment in the comment section below so we can reach out to you. Also, if you have any countries, states, or cities that you'd like us to review, please let us know so we can plan a trip there. Lastly, if you got some good value today and liked our podcast, please hit the like button and click subscribe so you can travel with us again next time. So subscribe right now because you don't want to miss the next trip. With that being said, over and out.